Time for another nerdy one, folks. Here's a theory I have about Calvin and Hobbes. I just use this book because it's the one I had to hand, but Calvin and Hobbes. The best newspaper comic strip ever produced, and I'm sure many people will agree. Hobbes. What an interesting character. He showed up in the very first strip, and the context, or the conceit, I suppose, is that Calvin caught him in a tiger trap. Now, if you're not aware of Calvin and Hobbes and the whole thing of it, if I can find a suitable image. Blimey, I can't blimmin' find one now. Where are we? Aha! There we go, look. So, to most people, Hobbes appears as a small stuffed tiger. But if there's nobody else around but Calvin, then he shows up as a tiger. So, we can extrapolate from this that Hobbes is some sort of tiger toy. But I mean, the whole point is that the line is blurred. And is he a tiger? Is he not a tiger? That's the big question of the comic, and one that never really gets resolved. But based on the assumption that he is a toy tiger, I put it to you that Hobbes was originally Calvin's mum's toy tiger. I mean, there is a lot of context to this, and I'm not going to bother explaining it because I intend to do a blog post on this, but, you know, just on the brain, so I thought I'd better talk about it. There is, of course, the first strip where Hobbes just appears. Calvin's dad is about, and Dad doesn't question it at all. It's not like, oh, where did you get that tiger from? He is obviously aware that the tiger has come from somewhere, so the tiger may have been around before. Maybe Mum, well, it could have been Dad as well. Mum or Dad could have planted the tiger and then said, "Hey, Calvin, I think you've caught a tiger." Something like that. But that, you know, that's up in the air. The other little bits of evidence that I have come across, there's little mentions of Calvin's mum being like Calvin personality-wise when she was little, which is interesting. Not necessarily hard evidence, but interesting. Ties in. There are also, I don't know if it's in this book, it'd probably take me ages to find it, and one of the books, or one of the strips, one of the story arcs concerns this raccoon that has died, unfortunately, but there's a scene where Calvin's mum and Hobbes are just sat together on their own, and Calvin's mum is just talking to Hobbes, and then says something like, "You know, things will get bad when I'm talking to you." It feels to me like there's some sort of rapport there, you know? And there's another one where Hobbes goes missing and Mum shouts for him. Why would she do that if she hadn't been Hobbes' friend at some point? Yeah, it's a small theory, and I think it's a fun little theory. It doesn't really mean anything, and of course I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to die on the hill or whatever. I just think it's a fun thing to think about. Hobbes, very likely, possibly, probably unlikely, belonged to Calvin's mum. Maybe Bill Watterson's thought about that. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's woven those things in intricately for us to find. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Either way, I think it's a fun idea. There we go. There's a lot to say about Calvin and Hobbes, and I imagine that, well, potentially top 5 newspaper comic strips will come up, and you know where it's going. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.